We're also going to be in chapter 44 and chapter 45. It's going to be a long one, okay? What's that? Page 36, thank you. Page 36, if you're on the chair Bibles. And today we're going to be looking at Joseph's brothers, and they're going to be kind of the focus of the story. It's been Joseph for a long time, hasn't it? We've been seeing how Joseph got taken from his homeland. He got sold by his brothers into slavery and taken to Egypt. And when he was in Egypt, God blessed him, and he became, even though he was a slave, he became like the servant of the house. He became the number one guy in the house until his master's wife falsely accused him of impropriety, and his master came and threw him in jail. And God kept blessing him. Even though his circumstances got worse and worse and worse, God kept blessing him, and he became kind of the main guy in jail, and people were put under his charge, and the jailer didn't have to worry about things because Joseph was there. And then he had a chance to get out, and he was forgotten. And he was left in jail another 2 years until God brought him out and put him in Pharaoh's court. And now we see Joseph as second in command of all of Egypt. I mean, he is the guy. Nothing happens without him. When the people of Egypt came to Pharaoh and said, Pharaoh, the famine is severe and we don't have any food. What do we do? Pharaoh said, yeah, I'm king of Egypt, but go talk to Joseph. Joseph will solve your problems. I mean, Joseph's the guy. And Joseph's brothers came to him. Remember that? Last week, they came to him and they said, hey, we need food. And he kind of roughed them up a little bit. He gave them a hard time. And he was like, you know what? I think you guys are spies. And he really questioned them hard. And he made them nervous. And he needed to see if he could trust them. He needed to see if they had changed, or if they were the same guys who sold him into slavery without remorse 25 years before. He had to see. So the brothers, they take their grain and they go home, and there's so much guilt. Remember last week we ended with the gospel resolves our guilt. And only Jesus can take that guilt and that sin away. And these brothers are racked with guilt. Now we get to chapter 43. And let's start in verse 1, chapter 43. Now the famine was severe in the land, and when they had eaten the grain that they had brought from Egypt, their father, that's Jacob, also known as Israel, their father said to them, go again and buy us a little food. That makes sense, right? Just go back to Egypt. We know they have food. Go buy some more. But Judah said to him, the man Solomon, who's the man? That's Joseph, right? In Judah's mind, this is just the governor of Egypt. This is the grumpy, angry governor of Egypt in Judah's mind. That's all he knows him at. Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers never recognized him. The man solemnly warned us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. What brother is that? Who remembers? What's the name of the brother that they're waiting on? What is it there? Benjamin. That's right. That's Benjamin. That's Joseph's younger full brother. Jacob, he had two wives. He had Leah and Rachel. Remember this from like weeks and weeks and weeks ago? He had two wives, Leah and Rachel. And Leah was not the one that he wanted to marry. He got tricked into marrying her, and he had 4 children, 4 sons through Leah. He had Reuben and Levi and Simeon, and then the 4th one was Judah. And then Rachel, she said, oh, this isn't cool. So she gives her mistress to Jacob and as a wife, and now he's got kids with her. And Leah's like, oh, well, if she's giving her mistress, I'm going to give my mistress so I can have more kids. And all of a sudden there's 4 wives involved in this. And Joseph was the son of the favorite wife. He was the son of Rachel, the one whom Jacob loved. He didn't love his other wives, but he loved Rachel. And Benjamin is Joseph's full brother, the only other child that Rachel had. Rachel died in childbirth with Benjamin. So Joseph's like, hey, I want to know. Remember the test that he said? He said, look, you cannot come back to me unless you bring this other brother that you speak of. You say there's 10 of you. You say that one is dead and one is with his father. Well, you can't bring the dead one back. Joseph's like, because I'm the dead one, right? I'm the one that you think is dead. He goes, but you can bring back the youngest. And if you don't bring him back, then I know you're spies. and you will never buy grain from us. I will lock you up. It's going to be bad. He's like, you have to bring the youngest one. But Jacob loves Rachel's children. He loves them so much. And he refuses to send Benjamin. And Judah intercedes. Judah's like, Dad, if you don't send him, we're not going to go. We know what this man said, and we believe him. We're not going to go. And so they argued about it for a little while. And at this point in the story, we see that Judah is kind of, even though he's the fourth born, he's starting to take the leadership role in the family. That'll play out later on in life. But just notice that Judah's doing a lot of speaking on behalf of the brothers. It's interesting, by the time we get down to 9, or verse 8, it says, and Judah said to Israel his father, remember Jacob, God changed Jacob's name to Israel, so it's Jacob or Israel, right? And here, somebody asked, one of the men that helps me prepare our sermons each week, brought out, he's like, why does the text start saying Israel instead of just Jacob, right? And we'll notice that. It's interchangeable in this story here. It's Jacob or Israel. I think the reason it is because we start to see the people of Israel in more of a national sense. It's not just Jacob's family, even though the Israelites are Jacob's family, but there's some national promises starting to be fulfilled. There's some things that are bigger than just Jacob and his immediate family, right? And so I don't know. It's not super clear why it happens. That's why I think it is. I think the author, I think Moses is turning our heads towards the nation of Israel a little bit. And Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy with me, and we will rise and go, that we may live and not die. How are they going to die? They're going to die of starvation. Both we and you, and also our little ones. Who's going to die? All of us are going to die, Dad. If we don't do this, everybody dies. Verse 9, and I will be a pledge for his safety. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. If we had not delayed, we would have now returned twice. We could have gone back and forth multiple times. Then their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. And he sends some presents. He sends some of the choice fruit of the land, some almonds, some myrrh, some gum, some stuff, and some honey and some nuts. And he sends double the money. Not only does he send double the money, he also sends the money that was returned to their sacks on their last trip. He sends everything. He's like, we're going to go and we're going to roll in hot. We're going to try and purchase or procure favor from this unreasonable governor. Verse 13, take also your brother, that's Benjamin. He's not referring to any of the other brothers. Judah's got 9 other brothers that he's aware of. But he knows that he's talking about Benjamin because that's the favorite. Take also your brother and arise and go again to the man. May God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, and may he send back your brother Benjamin. Or your other brother in Benjamin. As for me, if I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. Jacob finally comes to the point where he's like, look, I know that my sons might die, but we need food and we're going to die if we don't do this. So let's just do it. He knows it's the last-ditch effort. Remember, Joseph kept Simeon. He said, you can have Simeon back when you come back and bring Benjamin. So he's got to do all that. So it's like, fine, go. Hopefully all your brothers will come back. Hopefully everybody will come back. But go. This is a desperate situation for them. This is desperate. Do you remember how grieved Jacob was whenever Joseph died? He tore his clothes. He mourned. He refused to be comforted because the son of his favorite wife had been torn to pieces by wild animals. That's what Jacob thought when he saw the robe of many colors dipped in blood. And here he's sending Benjamin off, in his mind, to a likely death. There's a reasonable chance that Benjamin's never coming back. He realizes that, but he realizes also that this is the only play he has. There's nothing else he can do. So he sends them. And they go, and these brothers take all this stuff with them, and they get to Egypt, and they're before Joseph, and Joseph sees them, and he sees Benjamin with them. And he's like, okay, they came. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And so Joseph leans over to his steward, the ruler of his house, the servant that's in charge of everything. He says, hey, steward, hey, take these men and take them to my house. I'm going to have a noon meal with them. We're going to eat lunch together. Take them to my house. So Joseph doesn't really interact with the brothers yet, but he just sends them to his house. And so the steward, he's like, all right, guys, come with me. I'm going to take you somewhere. And by the way, it's Joseph's house. But he doesn't call him Joseph. He's just like, this is the ruler's house, right? Because they don't know it's Joseph yet. So he's like, we're going to go to this guy's house. And the brothers are like, this is not good. This is good. Think about it. Put yourself in their shoes for a minute, right? You just went and you bought grain from this guy, and all of your money was returned. It looked like you stole grain from him. He's already suspicious of you. And on their way home the first time, they were like, what has God done to us? They recognized that their hardship was because of their guilt for selling Joseph into slavery. They think that all of it's coming back on them. And so now, here they are being ushered to this unreasonable governor's house. And they're like, what is going on? And they're terrified. They're afraid of this. And look what it says. It says in verse 18, it says, and the men, that's the brothers, were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, it is because of the money which was replaced in our sacks the first time that we were brought in, so that he may assault us and fall upon us and make us his servants and seize our donkeys. So they went up to the steward and they started pleading their case with him. They get to the steward and they're like, hey man, look, it's really not what you think. Like we didn't mean to do this. Can we tell our side of this? You ever have kids get in trouble? And they're like, but Dad, I just gotta tell my side of the story. Okay. My sister says I punched her, but let me tell you what else happened. And they tell all these things that have nothing to do with them punching their sister, right? And at the end of the day, you're like, wait, but did you still punch your sister? Like, what provoked that? Well, nothing, Dad. I'm just grumpy about my cereal or whatever, right? They always want to tell. It's so important for us as humans to feel heard. We want to feel heard. These guys, they are terrified. They're like, this guy is going to ambush us. He's going to steal all our goods. We'll be lucky if we get out of here alive. Let's plead our case to the steward. This seems like an opportunity. So they're telling him. And Judah tells the whole story. We don't have time to read through this. Judah tells the whole story like 4 or 5 times in this section. He just keeps telling the stories, trying to plead his case. He's like, look, I'm not saying we're innocent of everything in the world, but as far as we know, we're innocent against this man. Please don't do it. And the steward responds to him. In verse 23, he says, peace be to you. Do not be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money. Judah's convinced. He's convinced that Joseph thinks that they stole from him. But the steward's like, no, we got your money. You were paid for. It was your God that put your money back. The brother's like, this doesn't make sense. Why would God do that for us? God's mad at us. We sold Joseph into slavery. We told Dad that he was dead. Why would God repay us good for the evil that we did? It doesn't make sense to the brothers. Then the steward, the steward, brought Simeon out to them. And when the man had brought the men into Joseph's house and given them water and had washed their feet, and when they had given their donkeys fodder, they prepared the present for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that he should eat bread there. They're like, look, Dad gave us all this money, all these gifts and stuff. We're going to give this guy a present. We're trying to butter him up. When Joseph came home, they brought into the house to him the present that they had with them and bowed down to him to the ground. How many brothers are bowing down? 11. That was close, right? We had to think through it, right? Wait, how many is it? At first it was 10. Last time it was 10. This time it's 11 because they got Benjamin with him. Do you remember the dream? That first dream was your 11 stalks of grain will bow down to my stock, or sheaves of grain will bow down to my sheaf. All 11 are bowing down to Joseph here. It's happening. It's coming true. And he, Joseph, inquired about their welfare and said, is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he still alive? They said, your servant, our father, is well. He's alive. And they bowed their heads and prostrated themselves. And he, Joseph, lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me? God be gracious to you, my son. Then Joseph hurried out, for his compassion grew warm for his brother. And he sought a place to weep. And he entered his chamber and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out and controlled himself and said, serve the food. We see that Joseph's not heartless. He's not trying to get vengeance on his brothers. He's not being a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. He's not testing them just because he has the opportunity to test them. He's testing them because he needs to see where their hearts are at. These guys treated him so wickedly. He's got to see where they're at. I mean, think about it. The last thing that he knew that they did to one of Rachel's sons was send him into Egypt. He had to know if Benjamin was alive. He had to know if his little brother was safe. He didn't know, but now he knows. And he's overcome with the emotion, but he's not ready to reveal himself yet. He's like, okay, they passed the first test. They made it through the first test, and so they eat. And it's amazing how they eat. It was an abomination for the Egyptians to eat with Hebrews or with people of Semitic background. It was an abomination. They were very racist, right? It's not an okay thing. It's just what they were. And so they ate in separate rooms. So you've got the people of Joseph's house eating over here, and Joseph eating over here, and his brothers eating over there. And they take food from Joseph's table, and they give it to the brothers. And Joseph has them arranged. He tells the steward of the house how to seat them. And he puts them in birth order, the oldest all the way down to the youngest. No misses, no gaps. I've got 6 kids. I have to really work hard to remember their birthdays, right? Joseph hasn't seen these guys in 20 years, and he remembers. And he's like, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. And he tells the steward, he's like, this is where they sit. And notice the men, look at in verse 33. And they sat before him, before Joseph, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at one another in amazement. How does this guy know? I would be a little afraid. He knows more about us than we think. I would be a little concerned if I was the brothers. Well, they ate. They drank. He gave 5 times as much food to Benjamin because in that family we play favorites, right? They ate and they drank and they were merry. And everything looked okay. It seems like the brothers are able to let down their guard a little bit and say, okay, maybe he won't kill us. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe he just wanted to make sure that we weren't spies. So Joseph gives his steward instructions. And this is the start of chapter 44. Then he, Joseph, commanded the steward of his house, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, with his money for the grain. And he did as Joseph told them. Wait, what? Joseph was so generous to them. Fill their sack with food as much as they can carry. Put their money back. So generous. And then it gets conniving and put my cup in the mouth of the youngest brother's sack. Joseph's cup would have been easily recognizable. Anybody who saw it would have known it was his. It was obvious. They'd all seen him use it when they were eating with him. It was obvious that it was Joseph's cup. It was a silver cup. It would have been valuable. But it would have been valuable not just because it was silver. It would have also been valuable because it was Joseph's, the governor of the land. And Joseph puts this cup in Benjamin's sack. As soon as the morning, well, let's just see what's happening, all right? Can we see what's happening? So here's a map. Not that map. Wait, I have all the wrong maps. Wait, did I mess that up? All right, we'll start out with this map. Yeah, I know, right? All the maps, they were right and they're no longer right. Well, we'll see if we get the right maps. So here's the basic thing. We'll use this map for now. This is the basic one. This is where Israel's at, right? And Egypt's down about right here on this map. I thought I had one, I messed it up. Egypt's down over here. So the brothers went down, and now they're getting ready to come back. It takes 2 or 3 weeks to get back if they're going at a leisurely pace, if they're not rushing. They can get back in a couple of weeks. So they're turning their faces back northeast to go back. All right, I don't know what I did wrong, but we'll get better in the future at that. Verse 3 of chapter 44. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. They had gone only a short distance from the city. Now Joseph said to his steward, "Up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid evil for good? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks, and by this that he practices divination? You have done evil in doing this.'" Wait, what? Joseph's like, go get them and accuse them of stealing. Like, go. Joseph set them up, didn't he? Why did Joseph do this to his brothers? Remember, he's trying to find out where their heart is. He has to see where their heart is. He just needs to know who he's dealing with. He clearly wants to take care of them, right? He clearly does. He keeps sending them back with more money and more food than they should. Verse 6, when he overtook them, he spoke to them in these words. They said to him, "Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Behold, the money that we found in the mouths of our sacks we brought back with you from the land of Canaan. How could we steal silver or gold from your Lord's house? Think about this, whichever of your servants is found with it shall die, and we also will be my Lord's servants." The brothers are so certain. They feel so safe in the knowledge that they did not steal, that they raise up and they're like, let's bluff with this guy. Let's put it all out on the table. Hey, servant, if you think that we stole, not only do we not steal, but you can kill whoever stole and we'll all be your slaves. Like, it doesn't matter. That's how sure we are that we didn't steal. So the servant starts going through their sacks. He's like, all right, game on. Get out your sacks. So they get them all out, and he starts going through them, and he starts again with the oldest and goes down to the youngest. And the tension's building, right? The brothers are like, see, told you, he didn't do it. See, nobody did it. See, and he just keeps. And they get to Benjamin's sack. And the cup is there. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack, verse 13. They tore their clothes, and every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. What have we done? What is going on? This test, Joseph wanted to see. He wanted to see if his brothers would abandon their youngest brother or not. He had to know, had their hearts changed? So far, it looks like their hearts have changed. They're remorseful. What have we done? And they rip their clothes and they go back. When they get back there, Joseph's still there. Joseph says to them, "What deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can indeed practice divination?" We have to touch on this for just a second. Divination's where the Egyptians, they used to do stuff with their cups. They'd put water, they'd put stuff in them, and it's kind of like reading the tea leaves, right? They just they thought they could see the future. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, whatever. Divination, let's be really clear, divination, it's an evil thing. It's nothing good about it. The Bible strictly forbids it. Its source is always demonic, right? If it works, it's always because of demons or sheer luck, but it's never a good thing. It's never a biblical thing. Also, Notice that Joseph doesn't say, I do this. He says, don't you notice that a man like me could? He's playing a character. He's like, hey, I'm the second in charge of Egypt. In Egypt, we can do this stuff. How could I not have the ability to see the future? How could I not have the ability to see what you've done? How could I not, like a man like me in my position could easily see this? So he's not claiming to see it, right? He's just saying, I could if I wanted to. And Judah speaks up again, right? Remember, Judah's the one that was like at the pit when they had Joseph in the pit. Judah was the one who was like, hey, here come some slave traders. Let's sell him, right? Let's make some money off of this. That was Judah. But now Judah, he's becoming the spokesperson for the brothers. He's taking responsibility in a way that he had never done before. Remember, Judah was the one who went and slept with Tamar when he thought she was a prostitute. Judah was the one who didn't give his sons to Tamar like he was supposed to. Judah's maturing. He's becoming more godly. He speaks up to Joseph. Judah says, what shall we say? This is verse 16. What shall we say to my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of your servants. Judah's not talking about stealing a cup. They didn't steal a cup. He's saying God has found our guilt. God knows what we've done, and it's bad. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and also he in whose hand the cup was been found. But he, this is Joseph, says, far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man in whose hand the cup was found shall be my servant. As for you, go in peace to your father. What a statement. Go in peace to your father? There is no peace that's going to be had. There's going to be bickering and quarreling the whole way. When they get back to Jacob, there's going to be nothing but turmoil and pain and heartache. Jacob will likely die from the news. There's no peace. Joseph knows that. Judah knows that. But Judah doesn't know that Joseph knows. Judah's like, this is really bad. And so Judah goes up and he says, O Lord, please let your servant speak a word in my Lord's ears. And please don't let your anger burn against me. And Judah goes through and he just tells the story again. He's trying to plead his innocence. And at the end of it, he says, and I gave my promise that I would bring the boy back to my dad. Let me take his place. This is so different than the last major interaction that Joseph had with his brothers when they sold him. This is completely different. All these tests were designed, all this anguish on the brothers was designed to reveal their hearts, and now their hearts are revealed. And Judah says, please, I've done bad things. Let me take the boy's place. Please be kind to me in this. And Joseph says, no, you're all just going to die. That's not what he said at all. Just making sure you guys were paying attention. He didn't say that. Chapter 45. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, make everyone go out from me. So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. Up until this point, Joseph had been talking through an interpreter. So he hollers out in the Egyptian language, everybody get out. Just go, leave me. And they all leave. He's alone with his brothers. And he made himself known. And he wept, verse 2, and he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it. Everybody outside was like, holy cow. Like, this isn't just like a little bit of emotion coming out. This is all of it. All of those 20 years, all of it coming out. He wept so loud that not only did the Egyptians hear it, but the household of Pharaoh heard of it. News of Joseph's weeping reached Pharaoh's house. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. You know another word for dismayed? That we were like dismayed. That's a weird word. So we started digging into it in Hebrew a little bit. Another word is causing palpitations. Right? That's some dismay right there. Like they're like, what, you're who? Well, I mean, their hearts are racing. I mean, these guys are on the verge of a full-blown panic attack. Their bodies are shutting down in shock. They're like, what is going on? You're who? He's like, I'm Joseph. Don't be dismayed. Just calm down. It's okay. I am your brother. So Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near. These boys are terrified. And he said, I'm your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. He gets it all out there. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves. Why? Because you, don't be angry that you sold me here. Why? Because God sent me before you to preserve life. Can we slow down for a minute? Do we have any of the slides that I put up? Very good. All right, it didn't work. That's okay. Our first blank in our what's that called? The piece of paper, blank perspective, the handout. The first blank is earthly perspective. Can we just look at what the earthly perspective is of this? This is the perspective that you and I have most naturally. As we walk through life, this is our perspective. We see what's going on around us, don't we? And when trouble happens, we see it all right up close. And so as we pull the view into the earthly perspective, let's just think about this. The brothers, they thought that God was punishing them for selling Joseph into slavery. That's what they thought. And they'd been thinking this for a while. Like for a while, they've been thinking this. They've been telling lie after lie, half-truth after half-truth to their father. Their guilt has been growing. And now they're convinced that God is paying them back. And when they get back to Egypt, it just gets worse. And now Benjamin looks like he stole a cup. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. Their perspective, it gets worse and worse and worse. Let's think about it from Joseph's earthly perspective, right? Joseph gets sold into slavery. Like, what the heck? He's just doing what his dad told him to. Hey, go check on your brothers and see how they're doing and bring me back a report. So he meanders over there in his flashy coat. And his brothers take him, manhandle him, steal the coat, throw him in a pit, send him to Egypt as a slave. He's like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault that my dad loves me more than all these other knuckleheads. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm smarter than them and I know how to manage things and they don't. It's not my fault that they don't do what's right and then I give bad reports to my dad. That's Joseph's mind, right? He gets into Egypt and now he's like, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and he gets promoted and then he gets thrown in jail and he gets forgotten. Right? From an earthly perspective, life goes from bad to bad to bad to worse to worse to worse. Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like as we're going through life, trouble happens and trouble just tags along and it hitches itself to us and we just can't shake it? Do you ever feel like that? It just comes. It's not just one thing, it's like all the things. All at once. From an earthly perspective, life is difficult sometimes. But here, we get a glimpse into another perspective. Look what Joseph says to his brothers. Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. You did this. We're not sugarcoating it. We're not pretending it didn't happen. You did sell me here, but don't be angry with yourselves. Because God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. Verse 7, and God sent me. Loved ones, our earthly perspective is not the only perspective that defines our reality. The second blank is heavenly perspective. heavenly perspective. Joseph sees it here. It says, God sent me before you to preserve life. God did this. Yeah, but we're the ones that committed evil against you, Joseph. We sold you into slavery. That was evil. It was evil. It was wicked. But God used that. I don't know how. I don't know how. I wrestle with this often. I don't know how God uses active evil like that for his good, for his purposes, in his will, in his plan. But he does. And you know how he does it? It's because he's God. I don't know. God can do things that we can't do, and it makes sense to him, and it's righteous and it's just because he's God. And God used this great wickedness that the brothers perpetrated on Joseph. God used the great wickedness that happened to Joseph over and over and over again. And God didn't just use it. In Joseph's words, God was the author. The heavenly perspective is that even though there are all these awful things happening, God has a plan. And his plan is good. And his plan is righteous. And it is just, and it is wonderful. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. It's so hard sometimes to have a heavenly perspective when we're facing earthly challenges. It's difficult. It's hard. Look at some of these heavenly things that happened. God sent me to preserve for you a remnant on earth. Why is that important? God made Abraham a promise. God promised Abraham, I will make you a great nation, not just a great nation, but your descendants will be more numerous than the stars in the sky or the sand on the seashore. Do you know what happens to that promise if these guys all die of starvation? It doesn't get fulfilled. God is going to keep his promise. This is one of the ways that God was making sure that he kept his promises. You're going to have a remnant. But it's not just for your benefit. Think about who that remnant includes. This remnant includes Judah. And his son, Perez. So who cares about Perez? Perez is in the line of Jesus. See, Jesus, if God doesn't do this, Jesus doesn't come. God's plan is so much bigger even than Joseph and his brothers. When we have a heavenly perspective and we step back out of our situation and we see it from the heavenly perspective, we see this wonderful, beautiful tapestry of God working and weaving history together for his own good purposes in a way that blesses people, in a way that honors him. We see that, but here's the hard thing. Here's the hard thing, loved ones. In life, it's so hard for us to step out and see that heavenly perspective. Sometimes, we just have to trust God. Think about how Joseph walked through prison. He's had to trust God. What did he do? He said, you know what? I'm going to still honor God. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to do it well. I'm going to do the best of my ability. And I'm going to do it in a way that honors my boss, my warden, whoever's in charge of me, so that they're blessed by my work. When he's in Potiphar's house, I'm going to do my work as well as I can, so that Potiphar will be blessed. When Potiphar's wife comes to him, he's like, hey. And Joseph's like, no way, man. It's not that Joseph wasn't going to sin against Potiphar. He was like, I'm not going to sin against God. Loved ones, as we're going through the trials of earth, we keep our eyes focused on God. Sometimes we don't understand why. We don't understand the heavenly perspective. We don't understand the reasons why pain and evil is in our lives. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we're like the brothers and we're like, yeah, I sold Joe into slavery. All this bad stuff, this is my fault. right? Yeah, I went and knocked off the McDonald's. That's why I'm in jail right now. Right? Like sometimes we do understand why bad things happen to us. But loved ones, we don't always. We don't always understand what God's doing behind the scenes. But here's what God calls us to. He calls us to be faithful to him in the midst of that. Here's what happens in the rest of the story. Joseph, he talks to his brothers and he's like, hey, this is it. And I love verse 15. And he kissed his brothers and wept upon them. After that, his brothers what? What did they do? What's it say? Call it out. They talked to him. Does that remind you of a verse a few chapters ago? Before they sold him into slavery, it said that they could not say a kind word to him. They couldn't talk to him. They were so angry at him. They were so jealous of him. They hated him so much that they couldn't speak peaceably to him. But look at how God is mending those relationships. It took a long time, but look at that. Isn't that cool to see? Like now they're able to talk with him. Well, as we go on in the story, we see that Pharaoh hears more about it. It's like, oh, it's Joseph's brothers. Joseph's like, I'm going to provide for you. Pharaoh's like, I'm providing for you. And Pharaoh commands the brothers to take all these wagons and stuff. And he's like, go get your dad, go get your family, bring all your little ones. And Pharaoh says to him, he says, you don't have to bring any stuff because everything we have in Egypt is now yours. If you're Joseph's family, you get it all. You get the land of Egypt. And so he sends them all back home. And I love what Joseph says to his brothers. He loads the donkeys with grain and the carts and stuff, provisions for the journey. In verse 24, then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, do not quarrel on the way. Even though he had this reconciliation moment, and that he still knows his brothers, loved ones, they still need reminded, like we don't quarrel on the way. Like let's still be kind. Let's still do what we're supposed to do. I had a pastor when I was growing up, Max Edwards. He used to always say, he'd say, look, you can't be so earthly minded that you're of no heavenly use. Think about that. Whenever I'd come into him and be like, Max, everything is burning. So-and-so is this and so-and-so is that. And the girl I likes this person instead. Whatever it was, right? I was in high school, so my problems were high school problems. He'd always look at me and say, Andrew, don't be so earthly minded that you're no heavenly good. You got to be able to be useful on an eternal scale. Don't let these earthly things get so close to your face that you can't see past them to what God might be doing. It's not about you, Andrew. Don't be so earthly minded that you're no heavenly good. But he'd say, but Andrew, he goes, you're an extreme person. You don't just swing a little bit the other way. You go all the way off the cliff the other way. He goes, don't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. Loved ones, we can't just step back and say, okay, it's all God's plan. God's just going to do it. I'm just going to try and live in this heavenly mindset where I don't pay attention to the things that God has put in front of me here on earth. Even though in this story, and I love this story because even though God had a massive plan, it was not you who sent me here, but God. How did God work that plan out? He worked it out through the people doing what they were supposed to be doing on earth. The things that God put in front of them, they did. Joseph was faithful. Whatever situation he was in, he was faithful. The brothers argued with Dad. I don't know, Dad, but that was part of it. They had to. They understood they couldn't see Joseph again if they didn't have Benjamin. They knew it wouldn't go well. They worked through those problems and moved forward. Whatever earthly things we're facing, loved ones, it's okay. We don't escape to the heavenly perspective. We say, okay, God, you've put these things in front of me. I'm going to interact with these things. I'm going to try and do it your way. I'm going to let your word help tell me what to do in this situation. How can I honor you in this situation? But even when it's hard and difficult, I'm going to trust that there's a heavenly perspective. Whether I see it or not, I'm going to trust it. I'm not going to go off and try and live in it. I'm going to say, this is what you've put in front of me. I'm going to work here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work through my problems. I'm going to interact with my family. This is the family you've given me. I'm going to interact with them. This is the job I have. I'm going to be faithful at it. But I'm going to trust you that you have something going on, that you're doing something. You have a plan, and I'm going to trust that as I'm faithful, your plan is going to unfold, and it will be a part of something that you're doing. God is sovereign, right? He's faithful over us. As the worship team comes up, I'll remind us of a closing thought, right? What Pastor Max used to say. Don't be so earthly minded that you're no heavenly good. And don't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. Do what is set before you and trust God along the way. Why? Because God's sovereign. He has a plan and he cares for you. He cares for us. Let's stand and close in song.